Hello and welcome to this new edition of EcoTV, your magazine tailored by BNP Paribas economists. China has been on top of the headlines, but the euro has appreciated, even if the European stocks have fallen. Chief economist William de Wilder will tell us why. That will be the graphic of the month. With François Faure, in 3 questions, we're going to see what's happening in the emerging markets. But now, let's go to Jean Lemierre office, BNP Paribas chairman, who will tell us what to follow in the coming months on the economic front. Stay tuned. Back from holidays now, well, let's have an overview on the economic challenges of the world with the chairman of BNP Paribas, Jean Lemierre. Hello.
Hello.
Mr. Lemierre, what are the main uncertainties that you see going ahead?
There are always uncertainties in the economy, but you are right. There are a few ones which are crucial today. The first one is China. China is changing their economic model. It's difficult, takes time, can be painful, and of course in this process you see of adjustment, you see tensions. And we have seen tensions. There were bubbles. These bubbles have been addressed, and it has created some kind of shock. You know, people were surprised, but it was inevitable. The second question, which is key today, is what's going to happen in the US. The American economy goes well. They do remarkable track record over the last months. So it raises the challenge of the monetary policy. What the Fed is going to do, they have to address the problem. And these 2 questions, China, US, creates volatility. And the volatility has been quite high over the last weeks. It may remain quite high over the next weeks, but mainly it may expand to the emerging market countries, which is quite new. We haven't been used to this for quite some time.
And we'll address this question on emerging markets at the end of the show with François Faure. But now back to the Chinese structural model. There is a transition. At the moment we had some volatility, but don't you think it's better to have it today instead of the burst of a bubble tomorrow?
Yeah, a small shock is better than the big shock. You are right. This is probably the bottom line. Since 2008, 2009, the Chinese try to adjust. They have understood that the traditional model driven by export was maybe not over, but couldn't be the only model. And they had to shift to a different type of growth, led much more by domestic consumption and by investing in the modernization of China. So they have understood it. There were probably too much liquidity fueled into the economy. It has created bubbles once more. They had to adapt step by step without hurting too much the economy. They have also to get rid of overproduction capacities, which have created problems in some industries. This is not easy. I think they do it in a brave way. It's much better to do it now than tomorrow. The adjustment is probably, hopefully, less painful today than it would have been tomorrow. So we should welcome what they do. And we shouldn't be too much surprised by the impact of this adjustment process. But of course, it has an impact on the world economy. And probably you will discuss this later.
Yes, beyond the Chinese uncertainties, the US uncertainties, next we have the Eurozone. What are the criteria that you still monitor till the end of the year?
Well, Eurozone, not too bad. Not too bad. The Greek story hopefully has been fixed in a very mature way. It's not easy to address this type of questions in a democratic process, and it has been done. It has taken time. It was very visible. There were discussions. But at the end of the day, an agreement was reached, and I'm very confident the Greek authorities will implement the agreement. So, done. The economy is supported in Europe by the low interest rates, by the level of the euro, by the low level of price of energy, which is good. This can be supported by a reform process, like in Spain. It's well done, and hopefully the other countries will use the opportunity to move forward to support growth. But once more, the Eurozone is on track.
Thank you very much, Jean Lemierre, for this overview on the uncertainties in China, the US and the Eurozone. Next, we join William de Wilde for the graphic of the month. Stay tuned. For the graphic of the month, we're going to talk about the correlation between the Euro Stoxx 50 index and the euro dollar. William de Wilde, hello.
Hello.
Over the past month, last August, what was the correlation between the Euro Stoxx and the euro versus the dollar?
We've seen a decline of the stock market in Europe on the back of the very significant drop in the Chinese stock market. Simultaneously, we have seen a strengthening of the euro against the dollar.
Is that normal to see the strengthening of the euro when the stocks are down?
It is certainly different from what we have seen historically. This scatter plot shows for daily data since 2008 what has been the relationship. To put some structure in the data, I've drawn this regression line which shows that there is a positive slope. What this means is that historically when stocks went down, typically the euro also weakened.
But on the short term, recently we saw something different then.
Indeed, this is the short-term experience, so starting in 2015. What strikes is that you have indeed quite a significant number of observations with a decline in the stock market, but you see that on many occasions you see a strengthening of the euro against the dollar, which is shown when the dot is above the zero line. And actually the regression line has also changed, as you will see here.
So what is the explanation of this recent phenomenon?
So now indeed the correlation historically has now changed of sign, and what this shows is that we are in a world dominated by carry trades. This is happening on the back of the divergence in monetary policy between the Eurozone and the United States. What has happened is that a lot of investors have been borrowing euro and investing in US dollar. When risk appetite plunges because, for instance, stocks go down, what happens is that they would also stop playing that carry trade. So they sell the dollar and they buy back the euro. And this is then causing the strengthening of the euro against the background of a weaker stock market.
Thank you very much, William de Wilde. Next, we talk about the tension in emerging markets with François Faure. 3 questions on emerging markets now. François Faure, hello.
Hello.
We had some tensions after the devaluation of the Chinese currency, the renminbi. What is your analysis of the situation, of these tensions around emerging markets and emerging countries?
Well, obviously there is a risk of hard landing in China, but we have also the decrease in commodity prices and the appreciation of the US dollar. This is this combination of factors which is an issue for at least some emerging countries. We are not like in 2011 or 2013 when we observed pure financial contagion effect from the advanced countries. Now those factors can last.
Second question, what pattern do you use to have a global view of these emerging countries?
Well, we can adopt 2-level reading grid. The first level is whether the country is a net importer or net exporter of commodities. And obviously, if it is a net exporters, risks on growth are very, very high because all those factors are self-reinforcing. If the country is a net importer of commodity, well, the decrease in commodity prices can offset to some extent the appreciation of the US dollar and also the exposure to the Chinese economy.
Now the second level?
Well, the second level is a financial level. It is about the external indebtedness of the private sector, namely the big corporates. The issue is that if a company is more and more indebted in foreign currency, its revenues are expecting to decline with the decline in commodity prices, but the service of its debt is expected to increase. And obviously, corporates in the commodities sector are the most exposed.
Third and last question, François Faure. What is the zone, what are the countries the more at risk in the coming month?
Well, if we'll find to all the countries that are both exposed to risks on growth and risk on the external solvency of corporates, we have a lot of countries. We have almost all Latin American countries, with the exception of Mexico. In Asia, we have, first of all, Indonesia, but also, to a lesser extent, Malaysia. And in Europe, we have mainly Russia, Ukraine, and the Kazakhstan. But countries like, for instance, South Africa and Turkey are also vulnerable for Turkey because of the high level of external debt and, more generally speaking, of the debt in foreign currency in corporates in this country. And for South Africa, its exposure to the commodity sector.
Thank you very much, François Faure. See you next month for another edition of EcoTV. Stay tuned.
BNP Paribas, la banque d'un monde qui change.